All right, so here we are. We are live. This is Dave Cassidy, lawyer, father, and boxer. And I'm Rob Esposito. I'm a what's that?
Amateur boxer, if I
amateur boxer. Well, boxer nonetheless. And I'm Rob Esposito. I'm a CrossFit gym owner, coach, overall good guy. I like to think. I guess we all have our good and bad things. So we're going to talk about how to man the fuck up in life in general today, and talk about what this podcast is going to be about. You want to elaborate on a few things on the vision you might have here, Dave?
Yeah, well, as we discussed, I think how do you increase your performance in whatever you're doing? How do you do your best? In my mind, there's some principles that need to be applied to whatever you're trying to achieve, whether it's being a lawyer, being a boxer, a dad, if you want to pick up a new hobby. Sounds like
a win-win for sure. So we took a little notes here. We got some points we want to talk about today, right?
Yeah.
First one is expectations, right? So if we're trying to be successful in any kind of endeavor, we need to have some sort of expectation of ourselves, right?
Yes. You got to define what is a win for you. What is the goal? I think a lot of people fail to do their best because they don't define their expectations properly.
Okay.
For me right now, my son is starting to play hockey, and I'd like to pick up the sport. I can't really skate that well, but maybe I'll play in an adult men's league. So my feeling is I have to define my expectations.
Okay.
What is a win for me? Obviously, I'm not going to play in the NHL. It's got to be something less than that.
And so what's the definitions that you've or how'd you define your expectations for this endeavor that you're about to tackle?
Well, taking that one, I have to start. And my expectation has to be better than where I am today. And there's got to be a finite goal, some timeline that I can measure against. Initially, the win is to start, to learn to skate, if I choose to do that. I did that with boxing. I went to a boxing gym. I had to learn to step around a boxing square, very simple task. And I had to keep the wins and the successes defined relatively modestly. I think if someone comes to your gym, they should have the same philosophy.
Right. Yeah, that's certainly something we try to incentivize the little victories and not the big wars that people have in their heads and these giant battles that they're fighting instead of just having little victories.
If you want to participate in CrossFit and you say, I'm going to participate in a regional CrossFit Open next year, you're probably setting yourself up for failure unless you have the resources and energy and time to devote your life to that.
Right. Now, where do you see in your own life things going wrong with unreasonable expectations of yourself, or in the past?
Well, it's for me personally, and I think everyone has to define their own expectation, whatever the thing they're trying to improve at. For me personally, if I define my expectation poorly, it's difficult to keep going. Right? When I box, I had to adjust my expectations and goals at some point when I realized I wasn't going to be a professional.
Right.
And sometimes that's hard. I didn't quit. I had a modest expectation. I realized what it was, and I keep going. But if you set the goal too high and you're not performing at it, you're likely to quit. If someone comes to the gym and says, I want to lose 20 pounds in 6 weeks, and they don't do that, they're likely going to quit. They didn't succeed.
I personally find that in most endeavors that tends to be the case, and the hardest thing for myself personally, and then people that I deal with on a training basis, is getting them to realize that that's a part of the game, and to kind of take on a new mindset of understanding that it's going to take a little bit more than you may have thought, and the time and effort that needs to be put into it is a little bit more than your expectation was, right?
Yeah.
And what's the, as far as people go, with expectations, and they obviously want to shoot for the stars and hit the moon, but some people shoot for fucking Pluto, and they get nowhere even near anything, right?
Yeah, I believe anyone can do whatever they want to do. I do
Right.
believe that. But you are limited by time and resources, right? Most people are working, going to school. They have goals outside of one specific thing. Take the gym. Uh, if you devote your entire being to fitness and diet, and you use all your resources and energy, you can go as far as your physical body will allow you. But most people have other things going on. I have a son, I have a job. I devote the time and resources I can to meet my expectations.
So what, for your own personal situation, what makes that a priority in your life compared to other things that, most people may not view as a priority? So for instance, you get, somebody who may have a kid, who may have a full-time job or be a very busy schedule, so to speak, right? But their health and fitness is not a priority for them. What have you done to make it a fitness, or have made it a priority in your life? Like, what is the, what's something that sticks out to you? I need to get my shit together. I can't be just a bum on the couch. Why do you still exercise? Why do you want to box still? Even though you're so busy, full-time job, kid, the whole 9 yards. Why do you want to go above and beyond that way?
Well, I try and stay fit for me personally. And look, everybody's different. Someone may not have any aspirations to be physically fit, and that's okay. Maybe they put all of their priorities into developing the next electric car. That's okay. For me, fitness is about, I want to feel good so I can do other sports like boxing. If I want to play hockey, if I want to run, I'm in shape to do those things. I'm competitive, and I like to have fun. That's fun to me.
Right.
So that's why I do. I make it. I know that I have to run this week if I want to box next week. So I put that time in so I can have fun at the activities I like to do.
Okay, so basically it comes around being fun and something you enjoy. Obviously, you're being fit because you like to box and you enjoy that.
Right.
How about the person who has a goal in their head, they want to achieve something and it's not something they enjoy? How do you swallow those vegetables? You know what I mean? How do you eat? You have your steak, you got your fries, but there's veggies you got to eat in the fucking plate too to enjoy that steak and fries.
Well, you got to man the fuck up. There's certain things you just got to do.
Right.
And for me, I would think fitness would be one of those.
Right.
Someone else could disagree. Education's one of those. Not everybody likes to read books at night, but if you're listening to this, you should be reading books. You should be educating yourself. You should be eating sweet potatoes, even if you don't like them, I guess.
All right. So, define the expectations. Is it better in your opinion to shoot lower and hit those little goals, or to aim further out in front of them?
Well, it depends where you are in the process, but I am someone who sets high goals for myself. I've learned through time to not be unrealistic because that doesn't work. But, the laws of the universe, how much time you put into something and how much effort is going to equal, your results.
Right.
And you have to define those goals. I like to be lofty within reason. But
so now, I mean, let's kind of talk about realism and idealism. I had an interesting thought the other day, and I thought about being realistic. There's a good quote by Will Smith, and he says, "Being realistic is the most commonly traveled road to mediocrity." And I happen to really like that. Quote. I find that people want to pull you down to that realistic kind of view of life. But to look at life that way is not conducive to achieving success, greatness, or whatever you want to call it. So I kind of thought about it and if I'm looking at the world in an ideal kind of way, I want to not get pulled down to that view of realism essentially, but I still want to have an idealistic view. I mean, obviously keeping realism within the spectrum of my view, right? Because you have their grandiose people who can't even fathom the earth being around. They're just too stuck in their ways of being flat. I'm not saying that. I want to be like, I have these expectations of myself that are ideal, and they may not be easily achievable, right? But they are real in a sense, and they can be achievable, right? So it's kind of what
Yeah,
you're saying, being shooting further than the normal realistic view of things, essentially. Does that make
yeah.
sense?
Well, being realistic and having a sense of a bigger picture that you can do anything you want, I don't think are mutually exclusive.
Right,
You know,
right.
but
I think
most
people
people,
think they're mutually exclusive.
they're not though, because for example, if your goal is to be the fittest person on earth, right? You're going to
Mhm.
compete at the highest level. You're going to be the next Rob Esposito is going to be the next Rich Froning, right? You're going to have to sacrifice some things in your life.
Right.
You can do that. I if you said you were going to do that, I believe you can do it. You can do anything you want if you put your time and energy and mind to it. But realistically, are you going to sacrifice the other things in your life, the
Right.
other dreams that you have? That's the realistic part. You know, I'm a lawyer. I don't want to give that up.
Right.
I'm a single dad. I don't want to give that up. So I'm not going to be, an amateur boxer turned professional.
Right.
And I'm almost 50 years old. So, it's just not going to happen. Could it happen if I really set my mind to it? I believe that, yes.
Gotcha. Yeah. I certainly feel the same way about how the world works. You know what I mean? As far as put your time and effort and you're, sacrificing things that are needed to do in order to achieve those kinds of things. I just find that people either set their expectations too high and they get, they're sadly mistaken because of, we're kind of conditioned to feel like there's a magic pill for everything, right? And then you have people who have no expectations of themselves whatsoever. Like you got to find that happy medium. So that kind of reminds me of the story of Icarus. I don't know if you remember that story in ancient Greek mythology. No? Well, I'll give you the brief synopsis, right?
Yeah, no, you cut out on me. I don't know the story.
The story of Icarus, and I'm probably butchering this, but I'm going to do it to the best of my ability, is they're stuck on an island, and Icarus and his father, and his father makes him these wings out of feathers and wax. But the deal is when you're flying off this island, you can't fly too high because the sun's going to melt your wax, right? And you're going to fall and die. And then you can't fly too low because the moisture in the sea air is going to weigh the wings down and make you crash and burn too. So kind of find that happy medium in between, that bell curve area essentially, right? Of performance, of sacrifice, of success essentially, right? And I think to finding that, people have a hard time understanding that it's got to be hard, shouldn't be easy, but it can't be fucking debilitatingly hard. It needs to be something that there is achievable, like we're talking about, being realistic. So it needs to be within that realm. So that kind of makes me think that way.
Yeah, well, any particular goal, you have to look at your resources. You have to look at your physical resources, your mental resources, your time, and you need to apply those resources as best you can to your goal, right? And you can make anything a priority you want. You can put all of your resources in a goal. I think that's great. Go for it. But
now, what happens when you miss that goal? Is that a victory, or I'm obviously not a victory, but is that a failure when you miss that goal? That's where people get wrapped up, and it really ruins their momentum because they have this specific goal in their head, and they spend this effort, time, resources, and energy working towards that, and because they don't reach that specific little goal, they feel like they failed, even though they're not taking into consideration all the effort and time and work they put in, and how that's a victory in itself.
Well, a proper goal has a risk of failure.
Right.
So to me, failure is not failure in the traditional sense.
Okay. Good. I was getting that way.
Yeah, if you have a goal and you do not achieve it, then you can reset your effort, your execution, and try again. The weak will quit. We've all quit, though, right? We've all had goals, didn't get there, and quit. But if you really want to increase your performance, the idea is to take that failure look at what you're doing. How can you do it better? How can you do it more? And try and achieve the next goal. You know, the obstacle is not necessarily a bad thing. The failure is not a bad thing. You got to enjoy part of that. So you should have a goal where there's a risk of failing.
Right. So what's your experience with failing and learning to fail forward, as they say?
You cut out on me. Say that again.
I said, what's your idea or your experience with failing and failing forward, as they say?
This if you cut out right at the exact point again.
So what's your experience with failing and failing forward, as you're saying it needs to be a part of the equation?
Well,
right, failing forward?
Yeah, I've done both. I'm human. I've failed backwards and I failed forwards. My experience is, I'll just relate to boxing. I went through a string. I've lost a couple of fights in a row, but I keep going. I feel like I'm getting better. I'm doing my best, and I feel as if I'm improving. So those losses were not in my expectations or goals, but I kept moving forward.
So what point during your boxing career was it on the verge of quitting it because it just wasn't clicking? It wasn't, was there ever ever that point with boxing for you? Because you obviously feel strongly about it.
All the time, because of unrealistic expectations. Meaning, right. I want to be stronger, faster, better. I want to be in better shape. I want to be a better boxer. Struggle on a particular day, training or sparring or even in a fight. But for me, it's my passion, so I keep going.
Why is it your passion?
I can't explain that. It's just something that's there.
So, I mean, in my experience, I have those days too where things they're not clicking. It doesn't seem like it's working, and you're like, why am I wasting my time doing this? What keeps that spark of passion, ignited? What do you think's a tip, a strategy, something that people may feel strongly about, but then get smacked in the face when they realize that it's not going to be a fucking breeze and you're not talented. There's no such thing as talent in my eyes, as far as innate talent goes, right? And that is going to take some work to do it. And just because Joe Schmo down the road can do X, Y, Z, and it only took him a year to figure it all out, doesn't mean you're going to be the same fucking way.
Right. Well, look, many times a passion will come to you, something you really enjoy, and it will stick to you. For me, I've thought about boxing in 360 degrees, and there's so much value that adds to my life.
Okay.
That I don't really have a choice. It just keeps coming back.
Okay.
And whether it's fitness, overcoming obstacles, mental challenges, getting better, trying my best, like all those values come out in my life. So I have no choice. I have to keep going.
So that's good, because it kind of gets me to where I was kind of going with that. The non-tangible goals and things that you gain from doing something like boxing, like fitness, like starting a new business, like the intangibles. Obviously not getting better at throwing your jab, like you learned a little bit about yourself in that training session that you can't measure. It transfers over to your life in other ways you never thought it could. I think, in my experience coaching people, trying to get them to understand that there is a huge value you're gaining by finishing a workout. I don't care if you're last, it took 20 minutes or whatever it may be, that intangible benefit you're getting. I think people focus too much on the tangible, the scale, the fight they lost. I mean, the things that are easily measured, they lose track of the unmeasurables, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, CrossFit's a perfect example. I've done it for years, and as you're in the CrossFit gym, you see other people performing better than you, but you're doing your best, you're improving, you're hitting your goals. I mean, that's awesome. That's what life's about. If you're comparing yourself to the next person over, you're definitely going to fail, because the next person in your box might be better than you. There's 50 people across the country that are better than them. And there's 50 more that are better than those. It doesn't make sense to put yourself in that situation. where you're comparing your progress to someone else.
Okay, our whole society is based around that, though. It's built on that, right?
Well,
think about school. It's all about grades and not about other things these kids could be learning in school that, again, are unmeasurable. I mean, I talk to parents all the time about the testing procedures they have now and how they don't see a benefit in their kids, and there's a lot of things their kids are missing out on that they were privy to when they were younger. You know, the social experience, the friendships, and it's kind of all changing with that. And do you see that in your own son? Do you see any kind of interesting things that he's not essentially experiencing as a kid as you may have?
Yeah, well, you know, it's a function of opportunity and trying diverse things. But, you know, I tell my son to do his best, keep trying, and never give up. Like, if you do those three things in CrossFit, in life, in boxing, you're going to get better. You're going to progress, and you're going to be a success. That's all you have to do. Do your best. Go to the gym and do your best. And you know when you're not doing your best. And if you are doing your best and it's not working out, then you got to reset your expectations, or you got to stop the endeavor and figure out how to reset your execution. Maybe you need a trainer. Maybe you need some additional assistance to refocus your efforts.
Right. That's you know, that's the education part of it too, right? Yeah, tons of people just beating their heads into a wall thinking it's going to fall down when they don't realize they could probably hit it with a sledgehammer and knock it down faster if they just learn how to use a sledgehammer, where to get one, right?
Right. Yeah. Well, yeah. So, you know, in your world in fitness, people who have unrealistic goals, they can put in all the effort they want. At the end of the day, if the goal is not adjusted properly, right? I want to lose 30 pounds in 6 weeks. It's silly. That's not a fitness goal. That's not a fitness goal. That's like silly. I want to train 6 weeks to have a boxing match. It's silly.
Yeah. How often do you see that?
Let's see it all the time.
Yeah.
People want instant results, but if you want to be into fitness, it's a lifelong commitment. You got to go through a process.
So
if
now
you want to be really successful at it and perform well.
So now I have people come in and they ask about trying a class or you know, trying, you know, CrossFit, and I tell them we don't do that. You know, you have to put a little bit of time in it and then to really say you tried it. So, and I equate that to them, like, for you, for instance, if your son said he wanted to try hockey and he went into one practice and decided he didn't like it, I mean, is that acceptable for you? No, right? Because for me, if I want to try a sport and I go sign up and do one practice and to decide it's not for me, it's not enough time to understand that it's not really for me. So most people, I'm like, you know, how about we train for 2 or 3 months and really understand what it's all about, at least get the base knowledge involved, and then make an educated decision.
Yeah, I mean, if I walked into your gym and said I want to try CrossFit, the question is, what do you know about it? Like, why do you want to try it?
Well, right.
Do you just want to see it? Do you want to get educated about it? You can't try CrossFit. It's not, one class does not define the experience.
Right.
So I think that's a valid thing. Just like trying boxing would be stupid. If I said, you come to my boxing gym Saturday, you could spar with somebody, you could try it. Well, that has no value.
Right, but I'm saying we see that a lot. I see that a lot. There's a lot of.
Of course you do.
But I mean, so speaking to people watching this, like, what is, you know, what's a decent a decent amount of time to endeavor in something to realize that whether it's for you or not for you, you know. I think we're very quick.
It varies, but when I started to box, I walked into a boxing gym. I said I would like to learn to box.
Right.
And the coach said, "Well, it's a long road." I said, "Well, my goal is to learn to box. So whatever time I need to invest, that's what I'm going to do."
So what pre-qualifying, pre-investing did you do before you walked through those doors?
I researched. I hit the bags. I got my passion was building in me. And then I walked through the doors and I said, I want to learn this. That was my first goal.
So what advice would you give to somebody?
I want to do something new.
Right.
I want to learn to skydive. I want to learn about it. I want to see it. I want to get into it. And then once I start to learn about it, I can define the next goal.
So now I'm very the same way when it comes to learning something new. I want to learn about it from a book perspective. I want to watch it, and then I want to go experience it, right?
Yeah, and then I want to do my best at it.
Right. So what? I mean, I'm sure you've seen in your endeavors people that just tire kick, right? They walk around, they kick some tires, and they don't know anything about what they're getting into, but because their brother Tom had some experience with it, they want to do it too. Right, like what's just a framework, I mean, so to speak, of something that people need to do X, Y, Z before they go endeavor something new that's especially going to be time committal kind of thing. What do you think would be like? Okay, first go read the basics on it. Second, watch the videos. Third, talk to somebody who's doing it. You know what I mean? Like what would you just, if somebody came to you and say, hey Dave, I want to learn boxing, what should I do? What would be the steps that you would say?
I think exactly the things you just said. I'd say, well, let's look around. How can we learn boxing? Let me go to the gym with you. Let me show you what goes on there. Let's go to a boxing match. Let's read about it.
Right.
Let's partner up with people who are doing that. But tire kicking's not a bad thing.
Right.
I do it all the time. That's fine. I want to check it out, and it doesn't make people a failure just because they don't want to do CrossFit.
No. Yeah. I'm saying more of the tire kickers who go there. So let's say we're going to buy a car, and I have no intention of buying a car. I take the fucking salesman through a test drive, and I ask him all these questions and spend a lot of time with him. And there's really no intention of ever even going through with that transaction. That's what I refer to when I refer to tire kickers. Like actually thinking about this might be for me. I want to go check it out and going to watch a class and then decide, you know what, I don't really think I like that. That's okay, and I agree with that as well. I think people I've had over the years, people come in, they do it for a week, and they're like, they don't give enough time. It's not for me. Where they actually go through a little bit of emotions, and I find that in any endeavor is not enough time to truly understand.
Because they don't have the drive to do it. I wouldn't take that as a negative.
Okay.
They don't have the drive to do it. They maybe don't see the value in it. They might disagree, whatever the case may be. But you let those people go.
Well, yeah, obviously, yeah. But I mean, even in any kind of endeavor, like being healthy or dietary, you want to talk about the ultimate tire kicking thing? Diets. We go 2 weeks on a new regimen, and you're not getting what you want out of it, so you quit. Is that a tire kicker, or is that? I mean, what would you label that person?
A fucking moron. If you're going through life and you think you can do something for 2 weeks and it's going to have any sort of meaningful impact on your life, you're probably not being realistic. Your expectations are not legitimate, right? So when I started CrossFit, I had a little bit of a base, thanks to you. I quickly realized I needed to adjust my personal expectations based on my lifestyle and meet my goals, right? If I said that I was going to, join CrossFit for a month and then compete in the CrossFit Open, that's just stupid. It's just, this is a...
I've heard that, believe it or not.
Yeah, well, just chalk it up to there's a lot of lunatics out there.
Right.
You can't fix that. That's not same thing with boxing. You know how many people tell me how, I could kick your ass, I get in the ring with you. I've spent the last 10 years of my life training pretty hard. I'm certainly not the toughest man in the world, but coming off the street and getting in a ring would be an unrealistic expectation for most people. I'm not saying someone couldn't do it.
Sure. But Kimbo Slice.
Yeah, Kimbo. but my point is, if you came into the gym and said, I'm going to box, it might not be as unrealistic. You're in great shape. You're strong. You have a sense of what needs to be done. You're a trainer. I still think it would be unrealistic because you don't know all the rules and the nuances and techniques, but it wouldn't be completely out of the realm of the drunk guy who walks in the boxing gym and says, I want to kick your butt.
Right.
I mean, that's not – can it happen? Absolutely. Is it a realistic approach to success? No. Right? Probably better off to learn how to jump rope before you threaten to punch someone in the face.
And so what's an idealistic way of looking at it then?
That is.
Okay. So ideally, you can walk into a gym and do some jump ropes, and then start moving the fucking dial towards being a knowledgeable boxer by going through the motions and the steps and the processes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
probably.
fair.
You cut out there, so I'm guessing. But
No.
I mean, the best way to perform well is to go in with a reasonable approach, put in the effort, right? Make sure that your effort's intelligent. Make sure that the person you're working with is teaching you proper technique, is guiding you. Take the gym. I was just at my gym and I had a personal training session, right?
Mm-hmm.
I looked around at all these people on their, doing their cardio and doing their weights. And I was telling the trainer, most of it is wasted activity. Not doing things correctly. They don't have a plan. They're going to the gym 2-3 days a week, probably getting marginal results. And it's not a way to perform your best. Does it have utility? Sure.
Right.
It's better than nothing, right? If you're riding a bike for 20 minutes at the gym and doing some weights, I think that's great. But is it an optimal way to perform? Absolutely not.
So we're looking at we got to define the expectations, and then you need to set in place some sort of educated. I forget what you said, but it rang in my head and made a lot of sense. An educated effort. That's what it was.
Yeah, educated execution or effort.
Effort.
If you just go to the gym and start throwing weights around, you will probably get stronger.
Right.
You will probably get hurt.
Yeah.
You will probably create some imbalances.
So then we'll make.
You don't have the education. You don't have the knowledge to know what's the best way to do this. And quite frankly, if you get a jackass trainer, it's just as bad. It may be worse.
Right.
But if you get someone that you trust, the guy near me, I really like him. I trust him. We execute. I feel good. I feel like I put good effort in, smart effort.
So then I think we can kind of finish on that note. I mean, you got the 3 E's. We got expectations. We have to define our expectations, right?
Yes.
We need education, and then with that education starts the effort.
Absolutely.
Is that a fair step process to getting success in any endeavor? Absolutely,
and I'll add a fourth one. You got to enjoy it. You got to enjoy the obstacles. Okay. You got to enjoy the minor victories. When you want to quit and you don't quit,
right?
You got to enjoy that. You got to take that as a win. So throw enjoy in there.
Okay, so we got expectations, educated effort, and enjoyment, right?
Absolutely.
All right. Well, I think that was a good fucking test run.
Yeah, enjoyed it.
We put some effort in, I think.
Yeah, executed pretty well too.
So our expectations of this podcast would be what then? Why don't we choose some of our own medicine here?
Well, so great question. My expectation would be to have some number of people follow us and get some education out of it.
Yeah.
I don't have a number of mine.
Right.
It's something greater than zero and something that we can make an impact. It's not to be on YouTube and make $1 million.
Right.
If certain number of people started following, then I may adjust my expectation. Right now is to do it well, and have some people follow us. From there, we can reset an expectation. And
then I'm going to go forward and I'm going to agree with that. I'm going to go to the next E on the education of it. So if this podcast wasn't as smooth as it should be, we apologize for the lack of education in preparing this, and we would continually do better with that as we're trying to get better at all this stuff. So just a little disclaimer out there. Yeah, and no doubt, as you do something, you get better at it. This thing, number one, this is it. This is you started. That's a win. Absolutely. If no one watches this, Rob, it's a win. Definitely. Because we started. If 2 people follow us, that's a great win. And from there you build. Indeed. All right. All right. Well, we will be releasing some more very soon. We'll probably get a good schedule going and have a podcast a week, depending on the length. I'm not sure how long this one is because it doesn't tell me on the screen I'm looking at. But we'll probably keep them as short and sweet as possible because life's too fucking short to listen to people babble on about bullshit on podcasts.
Just remember, do your best, and everything else falls into line.
All right. Well, thank you, sir. It was good talking to you as always.
I'll talk to you soon.
We'll sign off. Man the fuck up.
Man the fuck up.
There you go.
Peace.